Welcome to Deep Deck. Gonna have a creative conversation.
Hello, welcome to Tape Deck. I believe this is Tape Deck, a podcast where I, artist-writer Declan Shelby, have a creative conversation, namely with a past or present collaborator in comics. My collab in this episode is Joe Mulvey. Joe Mulvey made his comics debut as the writer and illustrator of the electrifying super-powered Vegas heist series Scam from ComixTribe before following up with his indie hits Wailing Blade and Happy Hill, both with frequent collaborator Rich Douek. He is also the writer, artist, and creator of the acclaimed children's book Mummy's Always Right, and the artist for Thundercats issue 10 from Dynamite Comics, and was published in the Where We Live anthology from Image Comics. Joe is a lifelong resident of Queens, New York, where he lives with his wife. Where he divides his time between family, drawing comics, and watching the Rangers play hockey. I like how I assume you spend time with your wife there, Joe. Sorry about that.
She's in there. Yeah, she gets in the mix.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me, Joe. I had no one else to talk to this month, so no.
No, that's what I like. Listen, I told you a couple years ago at New York Comic Con, someone was like, "I'm going to credit Andrew McLean, but I feel like this is too vicious of a comment to come out of McLean's mouth." But someone was like, "Joe Mulvey, how do you know everyone in comics yet you're the least successful of all of us?" And I said, "Okay, but now that's why. Once you've gotten me here, you can only go up."
True. I mean, Andrew is so nice, but also I could hear him saying that. That makes sense.
Yeah, with the hat. When the hat's off, though, he's a kitten.
Yeah, towering above you. But the reason I wanted to have you on today, anyway, was because Terminator issue 5 was scheduled for to be released today. I don't think it's actually out. I don't know why. I think there's some diamond problems or whatever, but safe to say I have been told nothing, so I know nothing. So let us just assume that the issue came out on time, because it was all done. It's all ready and looks really great too. But we also have, I want to talk about your earlier stuff too, but we also have Thundercats issue 10 that we did together we can talk about, and also something we may as well just announce here. We'll get to it in a bit. But Joe, I first actually became aware of you, Joe. I think you had done this Twitter thread about promotion in comics. And had you paid for like a billboard of your first book, Scam? Was that a fake?
Yeah. Yes, that was.
So you actually did do that?
I did. So what ended up happening was I was like completely new to creating comics. I was always a fan growing up, and then like most people, you duck out during high school, college. You come back to them when you start working and can make money and pay for them. And at a certain point, I was making a book and just kind of putting it out online. I forget if it was like maybe DeviantArt or Tumblr or somewhere.
So how long ago? This is probably 9-10 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. And then someone came to me and was like, Tyler James from ComixTribe was like, "Hey, I do a lot of online stuff, but I'm looking to hit the direct market. Would you want to put this book out through a publisher?" So I was blown away by it. Yeah. And then to speed up a little bit, in the course of making the book, it was massive costs at that time to get like a skin on Newsarama or like whatever comic sites were big. It was so big. And then I just had this idea. Well, the book's set in Vegas. How much would it be to put up a billboard in Vegas? And it was literally like half of putting it on like big comic sites. So I was like, screw it. Once we do that, it's going to be so over the top that they're going to have to cover it anyway. And that's exactly what kind of happened.
And do you know how it did? How that experiment, did it work out? Or
we partnered.
In a way, it worked out because I became aware of you because of it. I didn't read the comic, so maybe it didn't, but it certainly worked for me to be like, that's a different move, and so it must have gotten some eyeballs that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
So the little caveat to this is the publisher ComixTribe, which is they have books on Kickstarter right now. They do really well in that space. They had this idea to sell 777 copies. Tyler James, the editor-in-chief, and he was like, "What I'll do is let's just cold call like the top 25, 30 shops in the country, whatever it was." And I'm lucky enough to be in a hub like New York. I could go to Midtown. I could go to like my local place, which is Royal. I could go to all these places and kind of just ask them, "Hey, will you take 5 copies? Will you take whatever?" And
what was the amount that would say yes and then the amount that would say no? Was it like 50-50 or 75-25?
Yeah. I got tons of who are you? Don't have time. Hung up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, and I lied.
I mean, I
several.
would have said no to you. So I mean,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Because, someone holds the phone and someone's like, I don't know, someone who sounds like Minnie Mouse and Joe Pesci is here asking if we want to buy his comic. And I get it. But in the end, at one point, like, it was like, honestly, it was like when you watch like those early, like Wall Street stock trader things, it's like, okay, I could put you down for 5. I could put you down for 10. And like halfway through the end of a weekend, I called Tyler and I'm like, dude, I'm sold out. And he's like, yeah, so are we. So from that, we made friends with Jay Bosworth at Maximum Comics. And we were like, hey, would you take a few more issues in the direct market release? Because to be fair, of the 777, most every comic shop sold out of it, which was,
that's great.
fun. Yeah. And then obviously I'm not shy. So I was willing to talk to people.
I'm trying to take you out of your shell. This is me prying it open.
Yeah, it helps. It helps.
Put it back. No.
But when we did that, Jay was like, I told Jay, I was like, listen, we're going to put up a billboard in Vegas. Are you down for that? And he's like, what do I have to do to have you put Maximum Comics on that? And then I'm trying to remember exactly. I think we said like what's popular in pop culture, tomorrow is in today's comic shops today, something like that. And it sold like gangbusters. It did a really good job for Jay and stuff. And we've been lucky enough to be friendly with the retailers ever since.
And so from there, again, I've never talked to you about this, like, so I'm just kind of gathering, this is what I gathered over the years. So that went well. So then you kind of did more projects with ComixTribe, I guess, effectively as a publisher distributor through crowdfunding. Is that fair to say?
They did crowdfunding, but then because of the success of the smaller 777 print run, Diamond reached out to them to see if they wanted to come into previews, and then
okay,
yeah. And then from there, like they blew up. I think like right now their biggest book is Sync, which is a great book by John Lees and Alex Cormack, and that's done like tons of volumes and tons of issues sold. But yeah, that was the first thing. And then I started this life thing where you start having kids and you start peppering in. I'm going to do some comics, but at the same time, I'm going to do some advertising work. I'm going to do some graphic design work. I'm going to do some whatever work. And that's that's definitely how it started.
And again, I should be asking you questions. So what I'm doing is basically making guesses, and you can confirm whether I'm right or wrong.
I love it. Truth or dare.
Style.
Truth or dare. Shelby style.
So then you kind of seem to hook up with Rich. Actually, I don't know if I'm getting Rich's second name right. Is it Douek?
Douek. Yeah.
Douek.
Either way is fine. He won't correct you.
I've never addressed him by his second name. I'm just like, look up high and go, hey.
He's tall. He's tall.
He's a tall man. But
yes.
Was it you guys linked up, or was it like, was he doing stuff with ComixTribe and you were too? And like, how did that kind of
he had the pitch for Wailing Blade, which I don't know if we knew each other when I reached out to you about the cover.
I think no. Yeah, I think I knew you. I had met you at a show at some stage, like late night or something. I think I knew who you were, and I was slightly aware, but we had met at that stage. I think
I remember before meeting you, a guy I've collaborated with a bunch of time, colorist extraordinary Chris Sotomayor, had come up to my table somewhere, like I want to say New York, Baltimore, somewhere, and you were at the show, and I hadn't met you yet. And he came over to me. He's like, "You know everybody. Do you know Declan Shalvey?" And I said to him, I was like, "Seriously?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "You're not going to say the name like that, right?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're not going to say Declan Shalvey. Like, that's so New York. He's Irish. You got to do the Gaelic term." And he completely fell hook, line, and sinker. And he goes, "What?" And I go, "It's Declan Shalvey. Declan. You don't say Declan, like whatever." So he goes, "Oh man, really? Thank you so much. I really appreciate it." I go, "Yeah, no problem. Just tell him that Joe Mulvey told you to correct that, when you're down there." And then he never made it to you because of Joe Eisma, artist extraordinaire. Mm-hmm. He told the story to Joe, and Joe's like, "He's messing with you, dude." He's like, "Don't do that."
Well, I've been called loads of variations, so it wouldn't have fazed me too much. Yeah, I know. My first memory of actually meeting you was outside a pub that had closed.
That sounds right.
It was like the Playwrights, one of the many Playwrights, I guess. But I just remember we had a good chat, like, and you seemed fairly bang on. And so I kind of knew you more socially than anything else, but I was aware of what you were doing. And like, I remember doing a cover for Wailing Blade, and you guys were nice enough to ask. And actually, do we have it here somewhere? Don't we? Send me some of the.
It was awesome. It was a banger of a cover.
There we go. It was. I like to describe it as easy. I didn't have to draw too much. Well, you had such a cool design, and the sword is really all you really need, So I remember just thinking, well, if I can just draw the badass sword in a cool pose, then I'll be happy. So you were pleased with that, but
oh, dude, I loved it. I loved it.
No, yeah, it was great fun to do. And I think I colored that myself. It might have been one of the first. No, actually, I didn't. I can't remember anymore. It's too long ago. What year was that? I'm trying to zoom in here.
Good question. That's another one that I can't.
2016?
Maybe?
2000. Sorry, I'm looking at the signature. 2018.
There you go.
That feels longer. But what was it? So that was your first. Was it your first or second book with Joe? With Rich. So what happened was Rich had, I think, one or two artists attached to do this book, and I had gotten the scripts of it and seen it, and I was never a fantasy guy. I never liked fantasy. It wasn't my wheelhouse. I liked like Daredevil, Spider-Man, street level type stuff. And then I forget who I was listening to, and someone was like, if you really want to be a good artist, you need to stretch yourself and do this and that. And I also think I was maybe doing some storyboarding stuff at the time. And Rich was like, hey, can we meet up? Because he's a local guy. He's in Jersey. I'm in Queens, New York. And he was like, thank you, Dennis. I'm really appreciative of that. Dennis just popped in to say, Dennis Hoffman said, did you love Wailing Blade? So there we go. Good. I would put up negative comments too, just so you know. So if anybody has negative comments,
I put it out on social medias. If you want to roast me, I'm fine with it. I'm good. So
you were saying?
Short story made long. Rich and I had some drinks, and he was like this big epic fantasy world or whatever. And then whoever's seen the book knows I kind of went a little ham with I was like, there's going to be trees like there's never been trees before, and there's going to be this like there's never been this before, and the grass is going to be purple, and all these things that I got into. I was like, if it's going to be fantasy, it's going to have our stamp on it. And I think that's what made the book kind of like sing. It definitely, like, from the coloring and everything, once you open it up, like, you're in that world.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sorry, there's another comment here. Matt Battaglia. Hey, Matt. Do you know his stuff at all, Joe?
I do.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yes, he is.
He's also enjoyed Wailing Blade. So it's great. It's great to hear like this indie book. Like so many people actually read it. Like, you never know if this stuff actually gets read.
Well, let me just say this. I didn't put a billboard up for this one, but when we did it, we had a cinematic props master make the sword, and we carried it around from convention to convention, signing to signing. So a lot of people that came out to it had
it's class. Like that is actually something I did want to talk to you about a bit more, because again, the first time I became aware of you was a promotional thing, and I think you've always been really good to push your stuff, and I think I'm decent at doing it, but most creators hide behind the work, and in a perfect world, that's exactly what you would do, and you don't need to worry about how to promote stuff. But especially with if it's not The Flash or it's not Batman or whatever, it's creator and stuff. It is completely dependent on you pushing your stuff. I'm guessing you're comfortable doing that, are you? Because you never just you seem to be perfectly comfortable to step in front of the work and go, "Hey, look at what I did." Is that your personality, or is it all fake?
No, it's not fake. I mean, like
any real
fake,
artist. But I mean, is it all like something you suck it up and
blustery
go, okay, I have to do
and
this?
showy? Yeah, there's a salesman side to me when it comes to it, because I think that if I have to sit there and watch you pour over every single panel, I'll probably cringe at the way I drew a thumb here, not like all those things, that the neuroses of an artist. But at the end of the day, it's a lot to put together a book, let alone a trade, let alone a series. And at the end of the day, I think I just kind of sucked it up and said, I got to be proud of it at the end. So then, I'll sell the book like it's, the sequel to the Bible. But at the same time, I just really genuinely like making comics, and I like making it with fun people. Rich is a great guy. Chris Sotomayor is a great guy. Tyler's a great guy. I've worked with a lot of people. We had Jules Rivera on somewhere, but just the people I've worked with so far, I've been very blessed and very easy.
You didn't
going.
mention
and Declan Shalvey, yes, yeah, Declan Shalvey in the current iteration. Yeah.
No, I mean that is great. But something I kind of discovered when I'd be traveling from Ireland to go to shows in the States, and my natural inclination was to kind of hide away. But I kind of realized I've come all this way and spent all this money that I do not have.
Yep.
I'm going to make the most of it, and I don't think I'm kind of like I'm as PT Burnham as say you are, but it's definitely a pair of shoes I have to put on in order to be like, I want to keep doing this for the rest of my life, and
Yeah.
there's so much good stuff out there, like even if you were the best in the world, there's still so much great work out there that you're competing with. So you kind of have to put your best foot forward. And I was always really impressed that you did that. I was just kind of curious whether it was something that you also forced yourself to do. But like from knowing you and your personality, I think, but I also suspected it was just something that actually kind of came naturally to you.
Well, like I don't know, because I don't think, like, I mean, we're talking like sincere creative conversation here. As much as I just did,
Not that sincere.
Create creator owned after creator owned after creator owned. But I think at a certain point, it was a couple years ago, speaking with you, that I was like, dude, I got to do more stuff to throw myself out there. As much as I put myself out there, I don't think I put myself as a creator for hire out there as much as I need to. Because yes, I can keep creating my own stuff in my own little corner of the world, and with some friends and great collaborators, but I want to be known for someone that can, anyone can go, and if they see my name on a cover of a book or anywhere, that they know that they're going to have a good time. They're going to be, completely entertained, and they're going to get their money's worth.
So was that a conscious decision on your part that like you had done, a good few projects with ComixTribe at this stage? Do you think that you'd kind of establish yourself in like that crowdfund? Well, like Matt is making another point here. He said Joe's an old dog of I hope that's a nod to me. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you go.
Of crowdfunded comics and self-marketing. I mean, you are. Do you feel that maybe you were just too much in that lane and you wanted to kind of get out of it?
Yeah, but I mean, listen. I think any lane is great where you can engage with a like a community or a fan base. But like at a certain point, you're at shows and you're signing things, and people are like, "Why aren't you drawing this character? Why aren't you drawing that? Why aren't you drawing that?" And it's like, you know what? I got to start putting myself out there, because genuinely, I would love to draw this character, that character, whatever character. Like now, I'm extremely lucky to have drawn, Terminator, and the script you gave me was an artist's dream, where you can just kind of make stuff like as cool. Well, sorry guys, you don't have the issue out today for you guys to actually see it, but yeah. So I don't think I'm going to get better unless I put myself under different, restrictions and criteria, and kind of push myself to grow.
Was part of that seeing, Rich do things at like IDW and like, the odd like Marvel, like, because you were working with him more so, and then you would see like from a writing point of view, you can do all these other things, and you're like, as an artist, generally, you're doing the one thing and you can't branch out in the same way. Was there a little, I don't want to say like, jealousy or anything, just in that, did it make you more aware? No? Okay.
I'm going to tell you something that's probably a detriment of mine. I don't have jealousy. I should. I just don't have it. I don't know, like, I'm jealous of Joe Caramanga, the letterer extraordinaire, because he gets to talk about the Devils winning Stanley Cups. I have jealousy. But I don't have I cheer on everybody that does well. I just like to see other people succeed.
I do. I am shistering a little bit, but I don't mean that. I don't really mean that. But
I love it. So at the next New York Comic Con, street fights. Love it.
but I mean, when you are working closely with somebody, and you did see, like, again, take jealousy totally out of it, but we're seeing that Rich was able to kind of like do different types of things. That wasn't something that made you go, maybe I should be kind of doing something like that too. I'm trying to figure out where your headspace was at.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not very introspective, so you might be finding out something that I don't know. But sincerely, I think my thing was like, I'll go on X, Twitter, I'll go on Instagram, I'll go on Facebook, and I'll be like, hey, who's got some warm-up sketch suggestions? And then I'm drawing Groot and Spider-Man and the Flash and this and that, and I'm like, man, I like drawing all these things.
Then somebody leaves a comment going, you should draw a book of this, and you're like, yeah, I'd like to. No one.
Well, that's the best when people ask you, like, why aren't you drawing Spider-Man? I'm like, I'm sure Marvel has plenty of people that they don't need me. They've got plenty of people, but at the same time, I'd like to. So, like, I think I just wasn't doing enough to put myself out in front of people to let them see kind of what I could do.
And it was that. Do you think that was that you were comfortable for a while where you were? Like, because you were getting stuff made. You're telling stories. You were getting stuff published.
No. 100%. I was getting stuff made, but I don't think I was like focused as all in on comics as I could have been. So, you
Okay,
know, if a
because you
job,
had advertising work and stuff that paid the
yeah, a
bills.
video
And
game thing would pop up, this would pop up, storyboarding would pop up. So I was like, okay, and then I can go do comics, and then, you know, at a certain point, my wife, who's like the greatest, was just like, you got to do what you want to do. Like these other things are distracting you. Like try to do the thing you really want to do. And that kind of made me listen. I've gotten tons of no thanks, no thanks, no thanks, you know, from editors and all such like that. But at the same time, I'm confident enough that I feel like if I got an opportunity, I could do pretty well with it. But I just got to kind of put myself out there to get those opportunities.
yeah, like I think I probably wouldn't have been aware you were like in that field, except you. I know you had a book due with John Lee's at Aftershock at one
Yeah,
stage. I remember thinking, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, cool for Joe, because this is, and it's not against ComixTribe or anything, but it's it's a different publisher. It's a different
bigger
project for
platform.
you, different ride. Like I was like, oh, that's cool. And then
Yeah.
I know everything kind of, Aftershock is a whole
Well,
thing. So I
that's
felt
it.
really bad for you because I felt like you were right about to kind of take another jump and then disappear from the podcast for some reason.
I'm back.
Okay, sorry, I was sharing a compliment. Justin Mason, the amazing artist of Sentinels, says this Joe Mulvey seems like a really cool fella. I'm not sure how true that is, but
And
where are we
also from
going?
Kentucky, I think really cool down there means something different.
Yeah, might actually, yeah, might mean they got to run
Yeah.
you out of that county.
Mm-hmm.
James McKay says two of the greatest in the industry right now. I don't know what podcast James is watching, but
I think
it's got to
he's
be very.
counting Declan twice. I think
I
he's
think
counting me twice.
I know. I think he's
Yeah.
he's watching some other channel.
Yeah.
We've had Daniel Ola says Wailing Blade is a lot of fun. I still love the character designs. Joe is a fantastic artist and great dude. Man, this is the most comments I think I've ever had in this thing. You're pretty popular. But sorry, I was saying that yeah, you were. It seemed to me like you were about to take the next step. With
And then I
what was
crashed
it?
Aftershock. That's what
Yeah,
it
that
was.
was you. That was you.
Yeah.
That was their fault. Yeah.
Yeah, that
But
was it.
how are you feeling about that project? But like before the
Loved it.
release came
Loved
out.
it. John's an outstanding writer. Like, I mean, one of the very best. The book was a pure horror buddy comedy type story. I still love the book. I think we've got like 3 issues done. But who knows, you know, with the whole situation, if they'll ever see the light of day.
Well, look, fingers crossed, man. But I think that's what. But that was unfortunate when I saw that happen. But I think that was happening around the same time that Thundercats was coming together, and I knew that we'd need like fill-in artists, like at the end of each kind of 4-part story arc, and I think I suggested you for the fill-in, and Nate Cosby said absolutely not. It's
Smart.
Stephen Mooney or nobody,
Yeah.
and as much, I'm not a fan of Stephen Mooney, but I was overridden.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I went and got a gray wig and I put it on like a silver wig, and I sent an 8x10 headshot to Nate. And I think that's what got me 10. I think
I
that
hope you
might be
pushed
it.
your cheekbones right up like an upside
There
down
was some
triangle.
photoshopping. Yeah.
But no, so I knew I basically was thinking of you when we started on at Thundercats, because I felt like you were a good kind of you're not the same as Drew Moss, but I think there's definitely an overlap in like kind of like the balance between cartooning and realism. I think there's some Ed McGuinness in your work somewhere there. I don't know if you feel that's the case, but I remember just thinking you would be a good fit. So I did ask, and we got you on issue 10. I before I get more into that, what are your artistic linchpins? Is
Influences?
McGuinness is McGuinness in there at all?
He's
Or
not. I mean, I think he's a genius. He's not. I mean, like top of mountain for me is McFarlane. Grew up, with Spawn and all that stuff. That was like North Star. Probably. Then I'm going to throw in a little Joe Quesada. I love his stuff. I
I can
love
see that
that.
for sure.
Humberto Ramos is huge on me. Not to shine, but like obviously, your storytelling, I think, is. I can't remember how many times I pulled out Moon Knight to look at it over and over again. And Injection goes without saying that. Like, I still look at that double page spread of the trees and the leaves and like the coat flapping everywhere. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of take in everyone, like, but I think Art Adams, Frank White. I mean, probably nothing crazy. Like,
I
uh,
look, I can see them all. I can see them all in your in your work. Like, and have you felt? You said you were like kind of trying to share stuff around. Do you think your style, or I say voice all the time, but do you think that it has like hindered you or helped you, or because like I've always found your stuff is quite distinctive. It probably doesn't work for everything, but I think it works for a lot that maybe people don't
Yeah,
see.
I think that's a little bit of like, if you're a musician, you could be tone deaf, I think. So maybe I'm art blind or something, or sight blind, like as an artist. Like I look at stuff and I just have like my guiding light is like, does it look cool? And then I'm trying right now to work and get better with composition and all that stuff. And again, to anyone that knows Declan or don't, you should really understand how much of a great writer he is and how much of a great like he'll art direct little things and be like, I think this would work better in this panel, this would work better. And just from working with you and doing those little things, it makes a okay drawing go wow. Like all of a sudden it's like, yep, this comes into the foreground, that goes in the background more. And it's been like a mini masterclass in like really learning composition and how to make the comics more dynamic and better looking. So I just think that I might not have the best gauge of my own stuff. I just know that if I look at it and I don't want to immediately rip up the page, that it's okay to move on to the next one. But yeah, I don't think that my stuff is so starkly different than at least 50% of what's in comics like nowadays.
No,
Like,
I agree. I mean, like I'm not trying to freak you out or anything like that. As in like, oh, this stuff is too crazy. Like, I don't think it is at all. But I was just wondering if you think that, like, with like how because you've been doing your own stuff for so much, it hasn't been like at publishers. Some people would start questioning themselves. They're like, "What am I doing it wrong?" Or do people not like me? Or especially artists can get in their own heads and start like creating. I guess if you're not so insecure, I'm trying to make you insecure right now.
it's okay. I'm so dumb. I'm not going to get any of it. But like legitimately, I think that's also kind of more the push to why I want to work and do more freelance stuff is because I want to get those restrictions. I want to work around those restrictions and come out a better artist at the end.
No, I think there's something to be said for that, and also something to be said for like just getting a book done in a month or whatever it is. In the kind of more mainstream, quote unquote, world, like it's just good for the process. I think sometimes too, because especially with creator own work, you can dilly dally and kind of think around with stuff, and like you can't without a little bit of pressure of the looming over your head. I think you can get a little bit complacent too. So no, I was glad to see that you were kind of moving into that space, and I know the publisher went off the rails, but like to me it seemed like a really great fit for you to help us out. Like we needed somebody because Drew like was working so hard and getting so much stuff done so fast. I decided to build in that little bit of kind of breath for him. Like I know Drew, and I know he would like 100% have no problem doing another issue, and he would kill himself to get it done. But I'm like, let's not kill you. Let's keep you going so you can do, loads more issues. So yeah, what was your experience on Thundercats? And keep in mind, I'm looking right at you, so you have to be nice.
Well, that's the way I prefer to make people uncomfortable. So let me get closer to the camera for this now. It was wonderful. And not only that, you're talking about Drew. Drew couldn't have been like more nice to reach out, compliment me if you need a hand, if you need help, if you want reference, if you want this, like he was an outstanding. I don't think I've met him in person, unfortunately, yet. I look forward to it because I think he's such a great guy and a super talented artist. But yeah, your scripts, you kind of really let me kind of flex every once in a while and try to do something really cool. I feel like also you guys allowing me to come in and do that issue where it's very slide centric didn't make it like, how does this guy draw? Because you could have that with regular comic readers where it's like, oh, he's such a departure from Drew's Panthro that I don't like this or I don't like that. Especially back to my new neuroses, how you're talking about my style. So I think that it was like a really nice way for me to kind of like settle into it. And then I tried to turn in the best pages I could with the time I had.
So Matt just popped in the end to say, like, Joe's style always reminds me of the feeling of 90s comics of my youth. That is a compliment. I can totally see that. I think, there's some artists from the 90s who like wouldn't be my style at all. But I know people who are mad into it, and they would talk about how much excitement there was in that work. And I do see that in I think it's probably your personality too kind of shines through in the work. But as regards Thundercats, I said, we needed basically a fill-in issue of sorts. But I also know that I was kind of the fill-in guy on Thunderbolts when I started at Marvel, and no one liked me because I wasn't Kev Walker, because Kev Walker is fucking cool, his stuff's amazing. But after a while, they seemed to like my stuff, and I remember asking a reader one time. They said, "Yeah, I wasn't really into your stuff when you started, but now I really like it." And I asked him, what?
Wait, was this in person?
Oh yeah, it was in person. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I could have gone F you, but I just thought, actually, I'm going to ask. I was like, what did my work change at all? And he said, no, I just got used to it. And I think that's so much of it. I remember, somebody replaced Andy Kubert on X-Men. I hated them, but then I remember Carlos Pacheco. I was like, oh, this isn't Andy Kubert. But then by issue 2, I was like, this is amazing. So I think sometimes you just kind of, if you get used to a certain type of artwork, and something completely different. I think maybe even Mooney might have had a harder time because his issue, his art is so different to Drew's. I think there's more crossover with you and Drew. But doing something different to what people expect is probably going to get a bad reaction straight away. But over time, I think you can absolutely kind of it's like you're spoon feeding.
I don't want to blow up Mooney's head any more than it is, but I loved his issue because of how big the action scenes were and how Chitara and Lion-O would just, I thought he did a great job for the awful person he is. So that's, it's always a lot
of tight bottoms as well. Really tight.
Well, he asked for a lot of reference photos. I know that. I sent him a bunch. So
he said, I'm not drawing it, but I'll pose for it. But so how did you find this script? I mean, again, I'm not fishing for compliments, but I remember feeling with your. I wanted to give you an issue to spotlight your work on, and I think you were good at monsters. I think you're good at creatures. I want, as the book was developing, Slythe has a story that's going through it, so I wanted to kind of move off the Thundercats for an issue and spotlight Slythe a bit. Giving a story and art reason for there to be a fill-in. And I just thought it was such a really nice fit. But I do also remember writing it going, I got to give him the Thundercats in one page. I can't, it's like if you get to do Daredevil and Daredevil's not in the issue. So I remember I did specifically write a page so that you could just draw a team shot of the Thundercats and then that's it. And then it's just back to Slythe. But I was hoping that you'd read the script and go did that happen?
I did, and I was like, okay, this is going to be super awesome. And then what I liked is I was like, oh, well, they got to go somewhere. What's the next page? And then it's like Lion-O's feet. And I was like, well done, Shelby. Well done. You got me. Very well done. No, but yeah, it was awesome. And to be honest, I look at every character and everything I'm drawing is shapes, and I try to make them the most fun shapes I can make so that I look forward to twisting them and contorting them and everything. So Slythe was awesome. And then when you put Slythe next to his son, who I'm what's his name? I'm blanking on it right now. Scale. So when you had him being a little bit more muscular and slender next, they make the perfect number 10, right? Because he's like a ball. And I was like, oh my God. So for shapes, it was awesome. Same thing with the Thundercats. But yeah, no, the one shot was more than enough for me to have fun with. And even with this one, you helped me out with, a little bit of the layout where you had me pop Lion-O way more up front and all that stuff. And I think it kind of worked out in the end.
I can't remember what I said to you, but I think I might have made the point to you that I find myself and I find myself saying it to people a lot is, a 5% tweak can make a piece 35% better. It's not
I have right here exactly what you said to me about that because I wanted it to be on record.
Oh, really?
The first note was be better. That was the first note. Okay. Frowny emoji. Then the second one was be better stupid. Frowny emoji.
Sounds like me. Yeah.
And then the third one was I think you finally got it. Leave me the feck alone. FECK, whatever that is. But it worked out.
Yeah, I mean,
It worked
that's
out.
I don't remember any of that. It could all be lies, but it sounds fairly authentic.
It
So
is,
I'll give you that.
but it sounds good. No, you did none of that. But the fun was like when I really was stuck with a little something like, hey, I'm so close to nailing this layout, but it's really not working out. Every single time I would come to you. At a certain point, I did say to you, I know the next time you see me, you're going to punch me. I owe you 20 pints. I owe you something. But
Yeah,
you
it
were
did get
a
to the
gentleman
stage where
all
I'm
the way
like,
through.
I have other stuff, Joe Mulvey. This isn't all about you,
I know. I
But
know,
no,
but
I always, I mean, I
you're
do
pure
always
class.
always appreciate when someone is trying to like, I'm trying to do my best here, and I really want, like, and if like again, just a tiny little conversation is going to help you get there, then that's great. And I thought the issue came out really, really well. Like it fit within everything we were doing. It's if you want every issue to be enjoyable, but I wanted this one to be just kind of like, you're taking a step to the side. It's going to build the rest of the story. Because there are it's not just, you can read this without knowing anything about Thundercats, but also it was so more additive to the story that we're telling. So I was just really happy with how it all turned out. And did you feel any different then, having gotten like a paycheck to draw licensed
Well,
characters
I've got
when you finally got to
paychecks.
do it?
So yeah, I did, but I got to tell you, the one fun thing about it was the deadline, the restrictions. I mean, deadlines are not a new thing, but every company's different. Like we were talking about, like Aftershock, I'm sure is different than Marvel, is different than Dynamite, is different than whoever. I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed it all the way through. The one thing I will say is your credit of what you're doing with Thundercats. I had a bunch of friends, family that like bought the issue, and then from buying the issue went back and bought,
Oh,
the
nice
other,
one.
because they were like, oh, this is really, because sometimes with licensed properties, people think you're kind of retreading the same stuff, and that is the opposite of what's going on with Thundercats. It's really branching into its own unique universe. So yeah, I definitely liked it, definitely enjoyed it, and then really I think just from this opportunity, then we went right to Mad Cave, and then I did a Flash Gordon thing for them, and that was fun, and onwards and onwards, hopefully.
Well, yeah. So then after, while you were working on that, yeah, we were doing some work on Terminator, and we needed every issue of that has basically been a different artist for each one. So then I remember my hope was that if I pushed for you on Thundercats, that would open some doors up. My feeling was, Joe's really good, deserves a shot. This would work. I think the editor would be on board. He was. And then after that, I was just going, well, and then, best of luck to Joe, see what happens. But then it was actually the editor who came to me saying, like, well, how about Joe for an issue of Thundercats? And I was like, that's great, because it wasn't me, trying to campaign for you in any way. Like I said, I try to give people shots, but like I'm also then you're on your own, really,
Yeah, of
So
course.
it was very gratifying for the editor to come back to me with somebody I suggested to him, because it doesn't always go that way. Often you're like,
Yeah.
how about this person? They're like, Merp. So it was great that he came back. And yeah, so we have to, I want to show some of issue 5. So this is the last issue of the first arc, which was supposed to be out today. I don't really know what's happening, but if it's not today, it'll be out soon anyway. But every issue is a different kind of time period, and this one is set in the 1960s during the Gemini space program, and I'm really happy with the script. Less so with the art. No, no. I was working on this, and I knew that I felt it was going to be compositionally more challenging, and I thought that was also going to be the level of technical stuff. And I remember just thinking it would be a really good, of all the issues, it would be a really good fit for you. But what did you think when I said to you, it's a Terminator and it's in space?
That was it. You sold me on that. Like if that's what it was, I would have been like done. Yeah, man, it was awesome. The fun of this was the composition of things. Like I mean, this is just cinematic. Like this could be a movie shot right here. Like how, you just start tight on the Terminator's eyes, you move back until it turns into the thrusters of the rocket ship. And the rest of it all the way through. again, sorry to everyone who's watching that doesn't have the book in their hands. But when you see it out there, get it out there, because I'm definitely super proud of it, and I want to see how it printed. But I think also Colin the colorist?
Yeah, Colin
Yeah,
Crager.
Colin Craig. He knocked it out of the park. He did such a good job on this, because with being in a cockpit in Florida, Cape Canaveral, and space, like all these different things that are going on. And I'm trying not to spoil anything, because there's something.
I'll show a bit more. I can show like
Okay.
say the next page here.
Yeah. The as we get into space, I'm just going to say there is some bonkers stuff that happens, and it's like if this was a TV show, I couldn't walk away from it. I'd be glued to it. As a comic, if I was just flipping through this at the shop, I would have to buy it, because I'd be like, this is like it's page after page of like just great crazy Terminator action. So yeah, this whole book was a pleasure.
Well, I mean, the whole concept of the series was that it's different time periods and it's different, self-contained issues. And I was thinking, yeah, that'll be really cool. And I was really glad with the approach. Then as I'm writing it, I'm like, oh, this is so much work, because I think it was Nate had suggested the core like story point basically for the issue. And I'm like, that's cool. I can work with that. But then once you start like researching these things, and you're like, oh wait, yeah, no, that's Star Trek. You can't. That's not how space program actually worked in 1965 was it 5 or whatever it was. And you're, of course, it's all fantasy, but you want to ground it as much realism as you can. So the more I was writing the issue, the more research that I needed to do, which informed the writing. It was a very, very hard issue to write, but I was really, really happy in the end, just as a cool self-contained story. And it was so interesting seeing, like, because I say yours, like we're saying your stuff is kind of very like 90s enthused, but I also think it's like very kind of darkly stylized as well. So I think I once compared you to Trad Moore when we were maybe I was possibly quite drunk, but in that, like, the way you talk about shape, I think that leans into like compositional work so much. So I was more curious to see like all the other guys like David Sullivan and Lorenzo Ray and Luke Sparrow. I could see what their Terminator was going to look like in my head to some degree. Yours, I didn't really know what it was going to look like until it was drawn. But I also was very excited to see Colin color you, because I don't think you've been colored like this before.
No.
Which is, there's texture. It's more emphasis on texture and mood than it is rendering. And I just thought it was going to look so. I thought it was going to make your pages look so different. And it turned out I was right. And it turns out I thought it would look great. And it does.
Professor Shalvey gets another A. But here's the real thing, and the beauty of this is how well he did, Colin, with. Because I'm not giving away this, you're going to space. It's Terminator in space. So we know at some point the stark black of space is going to be happening. But in the beginning, we're at Cape Canaveral, we're in Florida, we're at the beach, we're at these places. He juxtaposed the color of the environment and what's going on. Like, look at the sky, that pink and the hues with the blue is just, it's beautiful. It's outstanding. And then the way he even just like kind of like subtly lit more of the smoke by that last panel with the flame, like all of it. I loved it. And then as we get to these next pages, like you leave all these colors behind because you're going up to space.
Yeah, which is, I mean, great. Like, and I never would have, I don't really do satellite panels anymore. It's not something I personally do, but I loved how you did it here, because it gave so much more vertical space to the rocket, while it just gave it way more scope than, say, a regular large panel would do. That turned out so nice. That is the very next page after the rocket taking off. So it just kind of feels like, the rocket's taking off and there's all this energy, and then it just goes kind of quiet. I just think it turned out so nice.
Well, that's how my head was when you said like the panel descriptions of the thrusters. So we're back. And then like, you're just right there. So I picture my head and my eyes like a screen, right? So I'm right there and the dust is just billowing, blowing all over me. So what's the next coolest thing to do is like to really show the depth of that space. And also like how there's no one here to help you. There's no one here to save you. It's you two guys in this little tin can. And by the way, you're going to see a Terminator. So, like there's that. But yeah, and also I can't stop looking at this because of the colors.
Colors are
Colors are
great.
just
Yeah. I mean,
insane.
I knew, I felt he would give you a different edge, and he did. But still, he still like he gave me more than I was expecting, which is always fantastic. Because because I think he's more of an artist than he is a colorist. But I think because of that, he's making artist moves. Then say, and I'm not saying a regular colorist wouldn't do that, but some colorists color in, they don't. They're not like when I work with Geordie, like I would describe her as more of a cinematographer. That was her approach, and I think Colin is a similar approach, which is why I think the page
100%.
is so cool. And I was something I meant to say about that first page, the horizontal panels. Like when I remember writing that page, I'm like, oh, I'd like to draw that. And whenever I feel that kicking into my head when I'm writing, I always feel like, part of me wishes I was drawing this, which my hope is that carries through to whoever actually does end up drawing it. Because there's a lot of stuff in there I wouldn't want to draw, all the complicated stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of circle templates around my art desk, but I got to tell you, your scripts that I've been lucky enough to work off of now, you really lean into an artist's strengths and an art
let's expand on that. As you know, I don't mean talk about me more. I mean, am I the first writer artist you've worked with? Because
100%, yeah.
So, I mean, take me out of it. How did you feel? Was there much of a difference between like a writer's script and a writer artist background script?
It's for the first time you work together, there's got to be like a learning curve. I've worked with some people because I've also done a whole bunch of stuff that never came out, or I've done a whole bunch of stuff that was just for video games. So like when I work with somebody and you have the staunch writers who see things as their way and no, don't do that, don't bring your flair to it, don't do this and that. That's okay. The job is the job. You do it. But I feel like when you know somebody like Rich Douek, who we mentioned earlier, I've worked with him, John Lees. I will go back to them and say, hey, I know you've written this 6-panel page as, broken down. I think if we took this first panel and like hit the reader over the head with this huge visual of the setting, I think we could really set a nice tone for the next three pages. And normally I don't get pushback. And I think when it comes to you as a writer artist doing this, you're kind of like, okay, well, I think you challenge me. I think, and if you don't, by the way, then just sit there and nod and take all the credit. But I think you legitimately are like, well, I've never seen him do this. Let's see him do this. I've never seen him have to do that. So I think you also do a step further from, I think, just a regular writer, because you're like, I know this is going to take a little more time. I know this is going to be a little bit of a pain. There's a little bit of a trouble. I want to see how he works around it. And it's kind of, I mean, I don't know. I'm maybe now I'm the one inferring, but I definitely at least I feel like that when I look at some stuff. Like I know when you give me my cheesecake where it's like, okay, here you go, just knock it out of the park. But I also know you're like, okay, listen, this is algebra. You got to figure out a way to come up with solving the problem. And hopefully I did, I'm a C+ student. Hopefully I stayed it.
Yeah, I know there was. So like when I'm, writing something, I'm trying to write it for whoever's drawing it. So I knew you were the one drawing this. So I think that's why it's so shape based. Like we've got very cylindrical ships, and we've got space, I just felt like it would lean into your how you use shapes. So I thought that would be good. And also I remember I was very adamant about you not drawing stars.
Yes.
Which I felt, because I know when I'm drawing space, I just draw stars all over the fucking place because I use splatter, and it's a great tool to be used. But I felt that there was two things. One was that I didn't want you to kind of be wasting time on that. And two, well, actually three, I guess, to all of the photography that I was looking at from the Gemini space missions. And, because, everything's so bright, the way the photography looks, stars are completely, you just don't see them. The camera doesn't pick up on them because the spacesuit you're looking at is so bright that any background element is wiped out, so it just looks like they're floating in black. Which I thought visually that was so strong, and I wanted to keep that in the book. And also that I forgot what the third one was. Sorry,
Well,
but I
I'm
just
just
felt
saying, give Colin his credit, because Colin right now, man, I'm looking in on the screen, and he did so. It almost looks like I did an ink wash, which I'm incapable of at this moment. So it looks like he did such a lovely, like, of the Earth's atmosphere going up and the gases going up into space. He did a better job than I could have. So with you putting that restriction on me, like, just black it out, black it out. So then it became right like a compositional challenge. And hopefully I didn't screw it up.
No, I mean, it worked. It worked great. But sorry, I went off a total tangent there. And what I mean was getting at, sorry, was I knew you were going to be drawing it. So I like to write for the artist, but I also write for myself in regards kind of pacing and what I have in my mind. And there were a couple of specific things I did ask you to try. I think I just said, there was like an element of something going upside down. I remember you asking, like, you were kind of going, will I do this or will you do that? Or should I do it here? And I think I was really busy at the time. So my answer was kind of like, I don't really fucking care right now, Joe. But what I really meant was...
Hold on, let me look at the list. I got it.
Yeah, it was feck off.
For anyone who thinks I keep a list, this is my to-do list that I leave on my art desk so I don't forget to be a human for the day. But yeah.
I've one here as well. But it was also that it was like there would be specific things I ask for, but I also know what it's like to be like looking at a script and drawing the thing and it not necessarily working the way the writer is thinking it'll go. Some writers will think visual stuff, but they've no idea how to actually do it. So I remember in the script, I was basically putting the seed in there for you to try it. But I also, I'm not drawing it and I don't know how you're going to draw it. So I'm not going to tell you to do it here. Maybe do it here if that works for you better, or maybe lead into it here. But I was just trying to sow the seed for how you were going to do it. And you did, and it was great. But I think you were looking for more direction from me, and I was just wanted to let you off and do it. Would that be fair?
Yeah, again, like most things in my life, there's way more thought on your end than mine. But I sincerely remember being like, I just wanted to read. Like, I don't want you to be like, this is 100% not what I was thinking of, because then I feel like, I'm doing a disservice to your script. So then when I finally got a couple things back from you, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what we're going for. And by the way, I think it works. Now that I look at it and stuff, it really works. And I'm not going to say what it is because I want the readers to enjoy that for the first time when they're going through the book. But I also think that that's another fun thing. Like 100%, that is a compositional element I've never done before, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think this, like the more we're going on and having this conversation, you're really making me consider that the best part of this next phase of whatever my career is the idea that it's like, I think I meandered for too long on creator-owned stuff where I literally threw out an issue that I didn't like because, I didn't like the lighting and I could have done like that kind of lunacy. Whereas now with this, it's like, no, you have to be way stricter, way tighter, do this. It forces you to think in a different way to where I think my muscles gotten so much stronger mentally, right? Because like, I think I've heard you definitely talk about it. A lot of other artists talk about it. Like you can say, I want to be an artist. You can say, I want to draw, and everyone has the right and the ability to. But to be a working paid artist, you have to have like this mental, almost like a super hyper focus where it's, I'm going here and like, I can't have podcasts on when I like drawing or whatever. It's got to be, I'm just focused on, I have like instrumental music or something, but like I'm like inking. Yes. Then I can have a little fun with it, but I've got to like laser focus in through layouts and pencils so I can get it all done. And I think this issue was like a really big step, hopefully in my progress.
No, I mean, I think like having just to get the fucking thing done, like it's just such a part of it. And like I think maybe like 10 to 20% meandering is, well, maybe not 20, maybe 15, is necessary in order to be doing interesting work. Like you don't want to just be drawing, like especially with a book like, Terminator. I didn't want it to feel like by the numbers license, here's the photos of the actors, a type thing. I wanted it to be a creatively interesting take on the property. And of course, what you don't want to end up doing is just pumping out mediocre work, especially if you're lucky enough to kind of get that pitch in the works, which I did, and then the book existed. And then what happens with the grind of making comics is sometimes it can get to the like lowest common denominator of just get the thing done. So you don't want it to be that. So you do, you want to be more ambitious than that, but you can also become so ambitious that you lose the rung of yourself, and the book is late, and everyone's life's a nightmare, and also like, you did have a tough deadline on this, which I often say, and it's become ridiculously true, but like limitations can force creative decisions. And I think it actually made this issue more interesting. I can't really get into it, but like there was something that forced a creative decision on this book that, it was all your problem because you had to draw the thing. And again, often if somebody's asking me a question, my answer is you're the one who got to draw this fucking thing, like not me.
Figure it out.
Whatever. But yeah, not figure it out as in like, if this makes it easier for you, go for it, because
right.
I'm over here doing something else. You're the one actually has to make this stuff work. But weirdly, a practical limitation forced a more creative solution, and actually I'm quite happy about it in the book. Although I know you had to work very, very, very hard to make it happen, but not so much me. So I was all right.
Well, listen, I have that mentality of like, it's like, oh, you have X amount, like I'll get it done. Just tell me what the challenge is. I'll get it done. That's it. Like it's stubborn bullheadedness, but it's like, no, I'll do it. Like, but, and I'll do it. But at the same time, I got to make it to where like, okay, I have to like pare back on something. Like, listen, being in space was a huge help, right? Like if this was all like in a Victorian castle, you probably wouldn't be seeing me right now. I'd probably be in a loony bin. But the fact that I had the ability to really use the stark contrast of the background against everything else was made the job definitely more fun and doable.
And I am working with Lorenzo Ray on issue 4, which was set in a submarine. Now, there's some complicated backgrounds with submarine, but a lot of it could be very moody, and the exterior shot is basically silhouette of submarine. So there was a lot of like really cool ways to draw stuff there that wasn't like too time consuming. But the next issue he's drawing, issue 6, very complicated. Lots of like this. I felt bad as I was writing this one. Like, this is going to be way, way harder to draw because there's way more just stuff to draw. But to be like, there was a great thing about this issue for you was like that there was a lot of space, which is great. But there was a lot of stuff too. I mean, all those Gemini, the ships and the rockets and technology, like, and the Terminator itself, like they're no cakewalk either. Like, how was the challenge of drawing a Terminator for you?
Fun as heck. It's not. I got to choose my word wisely. It's not what originally I was like, oh, metal skeleton done, no problem, whatever. Yeah. Then you get more into
you're like, oh, this will be fine, and then you actually have to draw it, and you're like, oh crap.
And then you get into it, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of doohickeys or whatever the technical term for it is. But I have a question: is it true that you have a Declan's wheel of difficulty, and you spin it, and that's how you choose what goes in, or is this just a fallacy that's being talked about on Discord around the world?
Who's sharing this privileged information?
I believe. I mean, I'm not going to say anything. It rhymes with Nevin Pooney, but yeah.
Well, no, it's only really when I'm drawing something that's where the scheme of difficulty is. No, actually, no. I've said this probably numerous times at this stage, but I think one of my strengths as an artist is balancing economy, in that knowing when to like give yourself a break and knowing when to really sell something, So if I know there's going to be a double page spread with like a massive shot of New York City that needs loads and loads of work, I'll put everything into that. But there's probably going to be a page later with, if they're in a room, I draw the background twice and the other 3 panels are blank because, if you, and I'm not, it's not to say it's shortcuts. It's for, it's just, it's I see it as like if it's a movie and you're in charge of the budget, there's some things you need to save some money on, in order to pay for this massive set design piece,
Yeah, well, even in a movie, you're being economical. Like it's economical because guess what? No matter what, you pick and choose your moments throughout an issue, throughout a series, whatever you do. But it's those moments that you go buck wild that stick out in the reader's head. Like, yes, as long as you're not disturbing them, I think through the issue to where they're sticking with you, I think you're gold. But I think it's those moments where you go, I'm gonna do this daredevil jumping, off a balcony with Moon Knight thing that I think sells people, on the series as a whole.
Well, and again, I never try to make it out seem like it's pure laziness, because you only like especially with like work for hire stuff, you only have so much time. So where is that time going to go? If I had all the time in the world. Also, I've also discovered that if I have all the time in the world, it doesn't necessarily make it better. It might be a little bit better, admittedly, but it's not going to be. If you twice as much time to spend on a comic, it's not going to be twice as good. It'll probably be a quarter better, maybe. But
well, that's the number one reason I don't want to switch. I don't want to switch to digital is because I think if I switch to digital and like I have my iPad and I'm drawing on it and stuff, and then it's like zoom in, and I'm like, oh, I could do so much cross hatching under his knuckle, and it's like, for what reason? It's gonna go, like just tell the story the best you can.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Actually, I think drawing on paper is a big reason of how I'm able to balance that out because I do know people amazingly like talented people who just get they fall in. They're building a well and then they get to the top of it and they fall in top. I'm not sure if that analogy really works, but it's they're their own worst enemy. But like again, I'm big on limitations. Like it's like that with covers as well. Some covers I'll do really like big group shots of all the characters and a complex background and whatnot. But, I know that I shared one for The Flash the other day, and it is 80% a lightning bolt, just like a red lightning bolt against black, which, so fucking easy to draw. But but it was the greatest solution.
And it stands out on the stands that catches your eyes. That's it.
Yeah, like so that's what I mean is like is arguably you could say like someone's just being lazy by doing that. But I find I'm like, what is the most reward for the energy efforts that I have, just drawing the shit out of something doesn't necessarily make a good cover. Same with the page as well. And I feel that like, there were limitations on this issue that were quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Like tight, intense, and we found a way to work with it, and it has made a much better issue. Like, so as long as again, you were the one who had to actually sit down and put the hours in, but I do feel that we got something quite cool out of it because of that. So, it's not an excuse for like tight deadlines, but I feel if we had more time on this issue, it wouldn't have been as good.
No, I 100% agree, and I can't wait for people to see it and to react to it. But I will say, I normally don't see reviews because I've learned to turn that off. I had a review years ago, might have been for Scam, maybe it was for Wailing Blade, and maybe it was Wailing Blade. I wanted to put the review on the cover of the collection because it was so vicious. I think it said, I'd rather Humberto Ramos draw this book with his foot than Joe Mulvey ever touch it. And I was dying laughing. I was like, that's hysterical. But yeah, I do want to hear what people think.
Yeah. Oh, well, don't worry. I'll tell you. I'll read the reviews. I don't care. I don't care about them, but I do read them for some reason. Anyway, but
I love the fact, no matter what, the fact that people take the time, you want to, rip me, you want to, give me acclaim, whatever you want to do it. You've paid your money for the book. You've gotten the book, hopefully. And, you deserve that. Right. But not Justin Mason. Cause I can't tell if he's being sincere or what he's doing. Cause it's that Southern thing. We
have, Rocky Ballesteros, the comment saying, I don't think anyone will accuse you of being lazy, Declan. Also, or hello everyone, hello Joe.
Hello.
It wouldn't be me being that lazy, really. It would be Joe. Joe would have to be lazy in that regard.
Yeah, that's it.
It's writing is like it's not manual labor in the same way drawing is, but yeah, also like I guess I'm projecting my own insecurities there, like by worrying that people would think that you're not putting the work in, and then I have to remind myself like I work all day, every day of every week. You know, like it's. But I do think like what I said before, I do think what my strength has been is it's not like how good I am or I'm not at drawing. It's knowing how to delegate what needs work where and when, and you know it's quite hard with the writing. You know, like balancing it all, but I feel that like some people can't get past themselves to get the work done, you know, and I definitely feel you're not one of those guys, Joe. Like I think you're probably a pragmatist in the same way I am, but like there's a deadline and the thing needs to get done.
There's a deadline, but also you got to give yourself like over the time of this interview, you've been like, I did this, the amount of work you do.
About me.
Yeah, no. Trust me, you're not going to get the
my
chance.
Show,
I talk too
right?
much. I talk too much. But legitimately, you were like, yeah, hold on, I'm doing this. I'm on Mystique. I'm writing this. I'm doing the cover. I'm doing the amount of work you put out and that you're doing while putting in all this thought into the scripts is tremendous. So you deserve your flowers. You are like doing a lot of Herculean stuff in the industry.
Well, I'll just I'll die an early death.
There you go. There you go.
But so with all that to say, I got very rambly there, so I'm sorry about that. But with all that, like I'm delighted with how that you were able to do an issue of Thundercats. Terminator worked out so well. I'm really happy. Like I'm glad that like a one-off gig ended up into a second gig, but it's ended up into a third gig because
third one. Yeah.
I can say here. I mean, I assume I can say here that good old Joe is back on Thundercats for issue 15.
Yep, and it's going to be dope. It's going to be so good.
I'm going to do a rock like waiting for the applause here. But yeah, so we are. Well, I'm just about to get the script in. Actually, I have to send it to Nate. I literally just have to finish a bit of dialogue, but. You and I have been talking about a design for Lion-O in this issue. So essentially, this is a solo issue starring Lion-O, who's stranded from the other Thundercats. I've given you the gist of what happens in the issue, but like we're working on a design. So what is so tell me, is it fun designing Lion-O?
Insanely fun. Yeah, insanely fun. As someone who grew up watching the Thundercats, this is dream come true, and now I get to do this like little I don't want to give away too much, but this little side jaunt that Lion-O goes through, so he gets to really change his look, and I can't wait to start getting to draw it.
Well, as I as I say many times, being an artist and everything, you want to be adding stuff like you drew scale in issue 10. Now, Drew designed that. I always kind of go to Drew for design stuff. Like I want him to be the kind of foundational person who's designing everything, and he loves designing stuff. But I do. But also, I can tell if I was coming on a book, I want to contribute too. So you didn't get to contribute a design for scale, but you did get to contribute design for the Thunderian armor. So if with you coming in, I always want to give somebody a thing to work on, and I figured it would be a good place to like have you just play around with a new design for Lion-O, and I can share it here. There we go. Now, so this is what we talked about last. I think this is where we've landed, isn't it? Again, it's the beginning stretch of it, but he's going to be going through some stuff on Third Earth where he's like pretty much on the other side of the planet from the rest of the Thundercats and his family. So we kind of have him like grabbing stuff along the way. He was getting away from Mumra, so he's got some mummy bandages on him. It's going to be fun. I'm going to play with some of the, I think, dimensions of him, make him a little bigger, like a little wider, a little thinner waisted, but that's going to be pretty much the costume going forward. We're going to Momoize him.
Yes.
Momoa,
Yeah.
if I am.
Momoa
But yeah,
5.
so
That's it.
the story is kind of more about him going through like a different stage of his development, because as he starts out on Thundercats, he's basically a child in a man's body. So and so much will have happened in these for these 14 issues. I kind of wanted to give him an issue to basically just kind of be on his own and develop in his own way. So I've kind of joked this is kind of like his college period, his I hate you mom phase, where he goes off. And essentially, I think I said it to you, and this is what how I pitched it to the editor, was this is a Conan issue for starring Lionel.
Well, that's how you sold it to me. And
yeah,
I was
well, that's how I sold it to me. Like if somebody was going to ask me, would I want to draw that? I'd be like, yeah, that'd be class.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's it. I feel if you're going in on a cool visual like that, it's going to be something that you like, would be fun to draw. So yeah, I'll have that script. Well, I've that script for Nate. I guess it'll be tomorrow morning at this stage. But so you'll have it soon. But there should be lots of fun. Yeah, lots of fun stuff to draw. I actually feel bad sometimes because I'm like, I was working the other day and I was like, oh man, Drew's gonna love. Oh. Drew's gonna be unhappy that he doesn't get to draw this, But again, good for you.
Pretty good. Listen, Drew gets to draw so much other cool stuff, As long as you give him the moment when Lionel comes back and flips off Snarf and they have their family tiff, he'll be fine.
Who's to say it hasn't already happened? Because what issue's out? I can't keep track anymore.
13 just had FOC. So
did it? Wow, you're on top of that.
Look, there you go.
But was it? But no, it feels cool because where issue 14 ends is kind of in some ways where the whole series was going to end, except it doesn't. Obviously, it goes on. So like this issue is kind of one of the first ones where I don't want to say we get to kind of go off the rails a bit, because the whole book actually has been like that. But with the Apex stuff that kicked off and everything, and now Thundercats Lost, it feels like now is like, I guess, phase 2, for lack of a better phrase, of the book. And it's,
do you feel
really,
stretched?
really cool.
Do you feel? Sorry? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you feel stretched with that? Like now, because I'm sure, like right when you have a story, you're like, okay, I know I got to go this way. But now that it's opened up so much more, and you have tons of material to use. But like, do you feel like a little bit stretched in different directions, or are you still kind of staying to like the purpose of the story you wanted to tell from the beginning?
No, as regard to Thundercats, no. Overall, I was feeling quite stretched when I was like doing Mystique and Terminator and Turtles and Thundercats all at the same time. So I felt stretched, like, overall. But as regards to the book, no, I just did. All the main kind of plot stuff was done at the start. Like issue 15 was where the book was going to end. So, that overall plan was in effect. But what happened between, I guess, arc 1 and while we were working on the second arc was just this thing has just kind of developed. I think, it was tough with Chitara because Sue was writing that, and I didn't want to kind of, overstep. I want everybody to do their thing, as long as it just doesn't like clash with something I've planned. And it hasn't really, what it's doing Thundercats Lost is because it's off doing its own thing. So, which I think is important if you're going to do more books. You don't want them to kind of be tripping over each other, and what kind of blossomed in between, maybe say arc 2 and the beginning of 3, was just kind of natural. The Apex stuff was cool. It was just a one shot, and that wasn't factored in the original plan. But because of Apex hitting where he did, there's other stuff now we can do afterwards. So. No, I don't feel stretched. I feel that like it's just open doors to do more fun stuff. I felt when I get to a stage where, I need more inspiration or I need more material to work from, I can go back to the cartoon and I can take stuff from there. But I haven't had to yet. And don't get me wrong, it's not like, I'm out of ideas, I'll go back. But my feeling with the book was I don't want to go back and dig through years of lore just for the sake of pandering to old school
Fan
fans.
service. Yeah.
Now look, there's a place for that for sure, but like I felt it would be very easy to just go back and just redo what was done before. And I don't really want to do that. I want to tell new stories and create our own lore, and then from time to time, give people, like, there'll be stuff in our issue that'll old school fans will go, oh, cool.
Yeah, right.
Now it's not as important. I don't need to tell that same story with that same character or whatnot, but I feel it's enough to just tell the story I've been wanting to tell. And then you can just, take a little bit from here, take a little bit from there. And that's fun. And because there is so much lore, like, I think there's infinite amount of stories you can do with the book because they have so much material there. I think, but I wanted to tell something new from the beginning. Actually, Joe, what it was, my plan was do the 15 issues and then not leave because the book was going to end. And I felt that is if I can make the springboard for somebody else to do stories later on, that's a springboard and they can go anywhere else where all the lore has happened before. So my feeling was just make the springboard. But then the springboard but then you jumped off the springboard and we're kind of flying after that. So, I wasn't expecting that to happen because that wasn't the plan from the start. The plan was 12 to 15 issues and that was it. So I've made a springboard for myself to do more stuff, which is ideal, really, but if somebody else is ever going to write the book, there's loads of stuff that they can take what we've done and then what else is out there. I'm just not interested in retelling stuff that's been done before. But I also, I'm not going to pretend, that there was never any Thundercats stories before ours. There was, and I've been meaning to watch the series that came out in 2011, because I feel there's probably stuff I could take from there too. But my feeling was, don't look at anything until you've done your first year. But now that we've done the first year, I feel we've done so much stuff in that first year that I want to use that we've done rather than what somebody else has done. I think
as a creative person, when you came up with those portal doors, I'm like, oh my God, that's years worth of, because you really made like a nice, I don't even I won't say a back door, I'll say a side door to anything you want to do within Thunderian lore or Thundera lore, whatever, forever. You can pretty much go forever.
Yeah, no,
you heard it here first.
A nice device.
It's going to go past Cerebus, past Spawn. Thundercats is coming for the longest series going. Love it.
Well, even now that with I think I can reveal here. It's already out there that Apex is basically Old Man Lino. What happens in the There was future stuff there was time stories in Thundercats, so it's not like that's a new thing. It's just a different device to kind of get there, and it's also a visual thing that we can do to quite nicely. Like issue 13 is basically Snarf jumping through time doors, and because we can do that, he can go here, he can go there, we can see this, we can see that. So within a page, we can just visually go somewhere completely different, which is very fun from a writing point of view and from a drawing point of view, because then you can just kind of go anywhere you want.
You've done it, Shalvey. You've conquered the world, all with your ideas.
Just not just Earth, but third Earth. Yeah, I've done it.
Right.
But I might start wrapping things up here. If anybody has any questions specifically for Joe or myself, doesn't matter, stick them in the chat there. But I think people stopped replying once I started talking, so sorry about that. So what after this issue, where do you want to where do you want to go next? What do you want to do? Do you want to go back to do more creator own, or do you want to do more or for hire?
No, I'd like to see what's available, what's out there. Reach out my tentacles and see if there's anyone that would like to take a chance on a little handsome, thick-necked, blue-eyed boy from Queens, and see if I can bring my talents. So I just like working with creators. I also think that the more people that know a lot more than me that I could work with and learn from, the better. So, I always have creator-owned stories in the back of my head. And then, you're probably kismet to this, but, everyone says to me, if you could draw one character, if you could do one, I'm like, give me Banshee all day long. I love Sean Cassidy. I love him.
Same.
Yep. I'm going to tell you, the next time we get together, we're gonna have a pint like, gentlemen, pinkies out, and I'm going to tell you the idea I have for it, and you can either tell me I am out of my mind or it's not too bad.
Okay. Did you see that Alex Packnadell and
Phil Sevy.
oh yes, Philip they've done a Banshee.
Yes.
So I mean, like I'm raging.
I'm in it. I'm in it. And the redesign that Phil did is class.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice. Like for what it's worth, I just was like, oh, great design. Even though I'm going, I wish I was doing.
I know. I'm like, and the fun thing is, I'm like, I think sincerely, and I like Phil's artwork too, but I think sincerely, like that's such a character. Maybe it's also like back to hearkening to, I think it was Matt or someone who said the comment about the '90s love. Like that was Gen X, right? Like that was around that time that like Sean was getting his play at like being a leader with Emma, and I think I just came up at that time.
Like, he was badass, which was,
Yep.
for an Irish person reading X-Men comics, you're like, yeah, cool, Also, what are the Celtics? Because I didn't get that reference at all.
Yeah. But I was like, like what Phil and Alex are doing is awesome. But at the same time, like, man, I want Banshee in every X book. I'm a spoil sport with him. I feel like he's been tucked away long enough. I think, was it Matt Rosenberg did the zombie one? And even that, I was like, okay, I'm down. I
wasn't so down with that just because I felt like, I'm not putting down the story because I did like the story. But like just enough stuff has been done to Banshee. Like you can just do stories about him. It doesn't have to be
give him some time.
Dead or a zombie or something. Like there's plenty. Like he has been a spy. He's been a cop. He's been he's a mechanic.
Yep. Interpol. I think he's Interpol too, right? Like,
Interpol. Yeah. I made the joke to somebody like he's the Miles O'Brien of the X-Men. Like he can do. There's so much you can do. I know it's a tragic character. There's so much like a family. Like everyone's always on about the Summers with X-Men, but like what about the Cassidys?
Dude, you're gonna love the idea I have. I'm not joking. You're gonna love the idea I have.
Well, I don't feel too bad because I had an idea for a mini and it didn't happen, but I ended up kind of like getting to do it a little bit with Nick Roach on one of the X-Men Unlimited stories for St. Patrick's Day, which was, I have to say, really cool for Marvel editor. It was Laura Amaro. She emailed asking if the two of us wanted to do a St. Patrick's Day story. I'm like, if it went back to like kid Declan reading X-Men comics and said something to you, someday Marvel's going to ask you to do a St. Patrick's Day story. It's mad. It's insane. Like, was it? We have Kevin McNamara saying, more Banshee of his first appearance graded. There's a Nick's Banshee story. Oh, sorry, Dex. Nick's Banshee story was great. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, man. I was delighted I got to do it. Clearly, Joe hasn't got to do his, so we'll see. And Kev said, I want Banshee's jacket from Gen X. Actually, yeah, that was such a class jacket.
That was good. That should be like something that they sell right now. Marvel.com.
Well, there's an idea, free merch idea for them. But here, man, I'll leave it there. It's nearly an hour and a half, and I need to go get milk. That's my big news. That's my big news of the day.
I need to get off this conversation because I need to get milk.
Well, the shop's closing in a while. The shop's closing in a while, and I need tea to work for the next few hours. Otherwise, I'm in big trouble.
I'm spoiled. It's New York. I can get milk 24 hours a day. It's only $24 a gallon. It's very, very affordable. It's good.
No, everything closes down here at 8 o'clock, and then everyone goes to mass. No, not true. But 10 years ago, maybe that was the case. Not so much now. But Joe, man, thanks for popping on, man. It was anything you wanted to cover that I didn't?
No, dude, you're the best. I appreciate all your support, all your jockeying for me, all the help, and everything you've done, dude. You're the best.
Well, I'm done. I mean, you're on your own now.
Yeah, well, now I just know I got to stockpile the milk, and then I can get you anytime I want.
Yeah. Want some milk, shall we? Actually,
I'll have milk on one side, Magners on the other.
I think it's the worst sentence. No, that's the worst sentence I've ever said.
That's it.
Ooh,
done.
Yeah, no. Okay. Definitely need to end this now. No, thanks a million, man. And thanks for everyone for chopping in the old comment here and there. But I guess pick up Thundercats Volume 2. I know it's printed because I saw somebody showed me a photo of it. So Joe's issue 10 is collected in that. And I guess when Terminator 5 comes out, whenever that is, pick that up because it's a great. I'm happy with all the issues, but like this one with Joe is I feel it's really unique. So thanks, million guys, and thanks Joe. And sure, I'll catch you all again next time. And yeah, links to buy Joe's stuff is in the comments, and I think that's everything. I forget how to end.
All right, I'm going to say
podcast.
the same thing. Thanks to everyone for tuning in from Milk and Magnus. This is the Milk and Magnus Hour. Thanks to everyone who commented, and appreciate your time, handsome.
All right, see you, man.
Bye, guys.